What if the universe is not random? What if it is precise, elegant, mathematical? And what if the same logic that allows scientists to predict the movement of stars is quietly pointing towards something far deeper than matter? For centuries, humanity has searched for God in the heavens, in temples, in scriptures, in symbols carved into stone. But in the last 100 years, something unexpected happened. Physicists began searching for truth using equations instead of prayers, chalk instead of candles, numbers instead of names, and in doing so, they stumbled upon a mystery they never intended to find. The universe could be written in mathematics, not loosely, not approximately, but with astonishing accuracy. Simple symbols on a page could describe the birth of stars, the behavior of atoms, and the bending of space and time itself. Reality obeyed equations, and not just any equations, beautiful ones, balanced ones. Equations that seem to reflect an underlying order woven into existence itself. Albert Einstein believed there was a final equation behind it all, a single expression that could unify every force, every particle, every phenomenon into one coherent description. He spent the last decades of his life chasing it. Others followed: Hawking, Dirac, modern physicists working on theories of everything, all circling the same question from different angles. Is there a fundamental formula beneath reality, a code behind the cosmos, a logic that gives rise to everything that exists? Some began calling it the ultimate equation. Others referred to it quietly as the God equation, not because it described a deity with form or personality, but because it pointed towards something absolute, something foundational, something that does not change while everything else does. And here is where the story becomes unsettling. These equations do not explain why the universe exists. They explain how it behaves. They describe motion, interaction, symmetry, and structure. Yet behind every equation is an assumption that reality is intelligible, that it follows rules, that it can be known, and that assumption is never questioned. Why should the universe be understandable at all? Why should abstract symbols invented by the human mind map so perfectly onto the fabric of existence? Why does reality answer to mathematics? This is where the God equation stops being a scientific pursuit and becomes a philosophical one. Because if the universe is governed by a deeper order, if everything arises from a single coherent structure, then the question is no longer whether such an equation exists. The question becomes something far more intimate. What kind of universe requires one? And what does that say about the mind trying to find it? From the moment physics was born, it carried a quiet ambition: to reduce complexity, to find simplicity beneath chaos, to discover a small set of rules that could explain a vast universe. Early science did not begin with wonder. It began with pattern recognition, the same motions repeating, the same forces behaving consistently, the same relationships appearing again and again. Isaac Newton showed that the falling of an apple and the movement of the moon followed the same mathematical law. For the first time, the heavens and the earth obeyed one equation. That moment changed everything. Reality was no longer a collection of mysteries. It became a system, and systems invite unification. As physics advanced, the pattern repeated. Electricity and magnetism merged into a single framework. Space and time fused into space-time. Mass and energy revealed themselves as interchangeable. Each breakthrough felt like a curtain lifting. Each equation seemed to whisper the same message. There is less going on here than it appears. The universe favors elegance. It favors symmetry. It favors coherence. This belief became the driving force behind modern physics. If nature expresses itself through equations, then the deepest truth must be mathematical. And if multiple equations describe different aspects of reality, then somewhere beneath them must be a single one that unites them all. This idea hardened into an obsession. Physicists stopped asking whether such an equation exists. They began asking how close they were to finding it. Albert Einstein devoted the final 30 years of his life to this pursuit. He believed the universe could not be fundamentally fragmented. That apparent complexity must arise from a deeper unity. He searched for equations that could merge gravity with electromagnetism. He failed. Others took up the task. Quantum mechanics explained the subatomic world with astonishing precision. General relativity explained gravity as the curvature of space-time. Both worked, both were correct, and yet they refused to speak the same language. Two flawless descriptions of reality that could not be reconciled. This contradiction did not weaken the dream of unification, it intensified it. String theory, quantum field theory, grand unified theories, each promised a deeper layer of order. Each suggested that what we call particles are vibrations, what we call forces are expressions of geometry, what we call matter is a temporary arrangement of fields. As equations grew more abstract, something strange happened. They became less about things and more about relationships, less about objects, more about structure. Reality, it seemed, was not built from solid pieces. It was built from rules, from constraints, from mathematical relationships that exist whether anything observes them or not. And yet, hidden inside this pursuit was an unspoken assumption that the universe can be unified at all, that a single framework exists beneath everything, that reality is internally consistent. This assumption was never proven. It was trusted, because every successful equation reinforced it. Every unification strengthened the belief that existence is not arbitrary, that beneath the surface turbulence of the world lies a quiet order, waiting to be discovered. This is how the idea of the God equation was born, not as theology, not as belief, but as the ultimate act of scientific faith, the conviction that reality makes sense all the way down. At some point, a deeper question begins to surface, quietly at first, almost inconveniently. Why does mathematics work at all? Equations are symbols, marks on paper, abstract constructions of the human mind. They have no mass, no location, no physical substance, and yet they predict reality with eerie precision. Long before a particle is observed, an equation already knows how it will behave. Long before a star is seen, mathematics describes its life cycle. Before anything happens, the equation is already waiting. Physicist Eugene Wigner called this the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. Unreasonable because there is no obvious reason it should be this way. Nothing in logic demands that the universe be intelligible. Nothing requires reality to follow clean, elegant rules. Chaos would have been enough. Randomness would have been sufficient. And yet the universe behaves as if it prefers order, as if it leans towards structure, as if it responds to logic. This realization unsettled even the most disciplined minds in science, because mathematics does not merely describe what we see, it reveals what we have not yet seen. Black holes were equations before they were objects. Antimatter was mathematics before it was matter. Gravitational waves rippled through equations a century before detectors ever felt them. This suggests something profound. Reality does not merely tolerate mathematics. It appears to be written in it. The laws of physics do not feel imposed. They feel intrinsic, as though the universe is following instructions it did not invent. This leads to a subtle but unavoidable implication. Mathematics is either a human invention that coincidentally matches reality, or it is a discovery of something that exists independently of us. If mathematics is discovered, then it precedes the physical universe. It exists before particles, before stars, before space and time. Which raises a quiet but radical possibility. That structure comes before substance. That order comes before matter. That form exists prior to form taking shape. In this view, the universe is not built from things. It is built from relationships, from ratios, from symmetries that express themselves as matter only secondarily. Physics slowly begins to resemble philosophy, and philosophy begins to resemble metaphysics. Because once mathematics is treated as fundamental, the universe starts to look less like a machine and more like an expression of logic unfolding, a reality where existence follows intelligibility, where being follows rule, where chaos is constrained by hidden order. This is where the idea of a God equation deepens. It no longer refers to a final formula written on a blackboard. It points toward the source of coherence itself, the reason anything holds together, the reason reality does not dissolve into noise, the reason patterns persist, the reason the universe remembers its own structure. At this stage, science reaches its edge. Because equations can tell us how things behave, they cannot tell us why order exists in the first place. They assume it, they rely on it, they stand on it without explanation, and yet every calculation silently testifies to it. The universe is lawful, consistent, internally intelligible, which leaves one question suspended in the space between science and meaning. What kind of reality requires order as its foundation, and what kind of principle gives rise to laws at all? There is a moment when the search changes character. It is subtle, almost easy to miss. Physicists realize they are no longer studying an object from the outside. They are participating in the system they are trying to describe. In classical physics, the observer stood apart. Reality unfolded independently. Measurements revealed what was already there. Quantum physics erased that comfort. At the smallest scales, observation alters outcome. Particles behave differently when measured. Probabilities collapse into events. The act of knowing becomes part of what is known. This was not philosophy. It was experimental fact, and it forced a quiet revision of the scientific worldview. Reality could no longer be treated as fully objective. The observer was woven into the process. Every equation now required a frame of reference, a perspective, a point from which reality is described. This is where the God equation begins to fracture into something unexpected. If a final equation exists, it cannot exclude the one writing it. It must account for the mind engaging with it, the consciousness interpreting symbols, the awareness extracting meaning from form. Because equations do not exist in nature the way mountains do. They exist as intelligible structures. They require comprehension to function as truth. Without interpretation, an equation is ink, marks without meaning. And meaning is not physical. It does not occupy space. It does not obey gravity, yet it governs how reality is understood. This realization destabilizes the original goal. A true equation of everything would need to explain matter, energy, space, time, and the awareness capable of recognizing them. At that point, the search for a final formula reaches a paradox. Any system attempting to describe itself from within encounters limits. The map cannot fully contain the territory. The equation cannot step outside existence to explain existence. And yet, consciousness does exactly that. It reflects reality back to itself. It allows the universe to be known, to be measured, to be symbolized. Through awareness, reality becomes intelligible. Through awareness, equations matter. This is why the God equation begins to look less like a line of symbols, and more like a relationship between order and knowing, between structure and awareness, between the universe and the mind capable of understanding it. At this depth, the equation no longer sits on a blackboard. It lives in the act of perception itself, the universe observing itself through conscious agents, patterns recognizing patterns, logic awakening to its own existence. This does not mean the mind creates reality. It means reality requires mind to be complete. Because without awareness, laws exist without being known. And an unknown law is indistinguishable from no law at all. The God equation at this stage stops being something to solve. It becomes something to participate in, the universe expressing itself through form and understanding itself through consciousness. By the time the search reaches this depth, something becomes clear. The God equation is not missing. It has never been hidden. It has been misunderstood. Physicists expected a final line of symbols, a compact expression capable of predicting everything. But the closer they came to unification, the more abstract reality became. Particles dissolved into probabilities, forces collapsed into symmetries, matter softened into fields, space and time lost their solidity. Everything concrete gave way to structure, and structure gave way to pattern. At this level, equations stop describing things. They describe relationships that never become objects. They describe balance, constraint, consistency. They describe how something can exist at all. This is where the God equation reveals its true nature. It is not a formula within the universe. It is the condition that allows formulas to work. The reason reality is coherent, the reason order persists, the reason patterns do not dissolve. Every physical law rests on deeper principles: symmetry, conservation, equilibrium, information. These are not forces, they are rules of possibility. They determine what can happen before anything happens. They are not imposed from outside. They arise from within the structure of existence itself. This is why the universe feels fine-tuned, why constants sit within narrow ranges, why complexity emerges instead of collapsing, why galaxies form, why chemistry stabilizes, why life appears. Not because the universe was designed like a machine, but because it unfolds within a framework that favors coherence. The God equation, in this sense, is not written in mathematics. Mathematics is written within it. It is the silent order that allows symbols to describe reality at all. The grammar beneath the language of physics. The logic that gives rise to laws. The reason existence behaves as though it makes sense. This is why the search never ends with a final answer. Each equation discovered opens onto a deeper one. Each layer of explanation reveals another layer of structure. Because the foundation is not a thing to be found, it is a principle continuously expressing itself. Order becoming form, form becoming experience, experience becoming understanding. The God equation is not solved, it is enacted. Every time a pattern holds, every time a law remains consistent, every time the universe produces intelligibility instead of noise, and every time a mind recognizes meaning in the world. At that moment, the equation completes itself, not on paper, but in awareness. The search for the God equation begins with symbols, with logic, with the belief that reality can be reduced to a final explanation. But it does not end there. Because the deeper the search goes, the clearer something becomes. Reality is not waiting to be decoded like a puzzle. It is already expressing itself as order, as structure, as coherence unfolding moment by moment. The universe does not behave as though it is accidental. It behaves as though it is intelligible. And intelligibility is not a property of matter alone. It arises where structure meets awareness, where patterns are not only present but known. The God equation, in the end, is not something written down. It is something lived. It is the quiet consistency beneath experience. The reason meaning can appear at all. The reason thought mirrors reality. The reason understanding is possible. When the universe looks through conscious minds, it recognizes itself. When patterns are perceived, order completes its circuit. The equation closes not with an answer, but with recognition. That the search for ultimate order was never separate from the one searching. That the logic holding the cosmos together is the same logic that allows you to comprehend it. The universe is not solved, it is known, and in that knowing, the equation fulfills itself. Not as a final formula, but as coherence made aware.